Hello everybody. So today is something for a change that is not Mercedes related, and what you see in front of you, it's a starter from Toyota Corolla. I think the years would be 2002 up to 2006 something. So this one goes in Toyota Corolla and Toyota Matrix. So what we have here is a 15-year-old starter that was working on my wife's Toyota Corolla. The car was built in 2004, so that's 15 years now, and the mileage is close to 300,000 kilometers. So this starter worked no problem till now, so hopefully I can rebuild it and it's gonna be good for another 15 years. So what's happening, the starter failed, doesn't crank anymore. It worked for a little if you take a hammer and you give it a little tap, then it will start the car, but eventually after about 3 weeks it stopped working completely. I'm just gonna take it apart and see what's wrong with it. Most of the time there's two problems with that. Either the solenoid coil has failed, or there are some brushes in the back that maybe got worn. So let's take it apart and see. So first, I'm just going to remove this solenoid. Okay. Oh, come on, don't fall. Okay, so there's a spring, there's this, and we're going to test it after. Okay, so now to start with, there's this plastic, actually it's a rubber plug, so we need to remove that. Just pull it open and you'll see there's a retaining ring in there. So you need a small size retaining ring pliers, put it in and remove this retaining ring. Okay, we'll put it in here. Now an 8mm, and the thing's supposed to come apart. All right, so let's see what we have here. Here we have the planetary and the pushing mechanism that engages. Okay, so this is all okay. Now that, I guess, would make it a third possible cause of the failure, if this gears get stripped or something. But in my case, you see, everything's fine. Now, coil. We're just gonna test it. So the way the solenoid works, this is a negative, and this is where the plus comes from the ignition key. So I'm gonna turn it, put it on continuity, turn it on. Let's put the thing over here. And I'm gonna touch this contact over there. Alright, so there is continuity, so that coil works. Alright, now looks like this housing is coming. Oh, okay. So that removed the back, and there's a lot of dust inside. And this rotor should be able to pull it out. Okay, it's because it's a magnet. So that's the rotor. And if you really want, you can pull this plate out, but make sure there's a little dents on the housing, how this plate fits in, so it doesn't spin. Actually, let's pull it out. You see this little two tangs, and there are 3 dents around the housing. So this has to fit around one of them. This way prevents this from spinning. See if I can drop it like this. Okay, so that sits in place. So we're gonna put it aside, and I'm gonna look. Okay, this rotor, you can take some emery cloth or very fine grit sandpaper and clean up this contact. If it's really damaged, you might want to take and give it a little lick on a lathe. I mean, mine's not that bad. And also, what you want to do after that, you want to clean in between these gaps. Make sure there's nothing stuck in there, so they don't contact. Okay, that seems to be okay. I'll just put it here for now. Now looking here, right away I can tell that this is where the problem was. You see how short these brushes came, and there's a lot of carbon dust inside. So we need to replace that. See all this carbon. So let's see. Okay, so to remove it, there's about 3 screws in the back. Let's see, where's my screwdriver. So that came. This rubber should come off. All right. So all this housing comes off. There's a little piece. Okay, that's a little piece from the back over here that sits. Okay, so that's the disassembly. There's nothing else to it. Alright, so I've searched the Google and I've searched the internet, and I found this piece on Google. Oh, sorry, not on Google, actually on Amazon. And it's supposed to be direct replacement for the failed one, and the price for that is about 10 bucks US. So let's see how that looks like. Well, it looks very much the same. So there's this, and you can see this is the size of the brushes. Now the spring, it's kind of pushes them back, so I'm not sure how that's gonna look when it gets installed. Well, it's probably gonna look okay. Alright, so here you go, 10 bucks replacement rather than going and buying a new
So I'm gonna
And
leave the link in the
I'm not
comments
sure,
for
I
this
think it's
piece.
$120 or something. Alright, so let's reassemble everything back. So first we're gonna place this in here. Let's position this where it should be. Also place this. Install the rubber grommet. Okay, that seems like that's how it's supposed to be. And where's my small screws? Okay, that seems to fit okay. Now I just need to get a Phillips screwdriver. So all right. Now I'm gonna install this because I want to make sure that the retaining ring sits all the way. Let's make sure that that goes inside. Okay, and I just found there's also a washer right there that I missed. So careful, don't lose it. And looks like the washer goes first. Just push it down. Alright. And then the retaining ring goes on top. Alright, so now I need to install the rotor into this housing and install the retaining ring. And because these brushes are spring loaded, I don't want to fight it, so I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna do this. Okay, so I got it in, and now I'm gonna use a clamp, and I'm gonna clamp this. So now it's kind of a nice and easy to work, and I can push this washer that's supposed to be under the retaining ring, and now I can use my pliers. Okay, now the most difficult part is going to be putting this retaining ring on. Let's see if I can do it easily. And the reason is because this is a really tiny one, and okay. Okay, so the retaining ring is in. Just make sure it's seated. Okay, just clicked and snapped. So the thing sits all the way in. Now I can put the cap. Actually, before I do that, I wanted to spray some. It's some grease just to prevent corrosion. Just basically coat it a little bit, so keeps everything lubricated. Now I'm gonna put the cap on top and let go of the clamp. Okay, so this part is completed. Now just need to assemble this part back, and to assemble it we need to see the timing. If you see, there's a cutout over here, so that cutout has to match with this rubber thing. And careful, because if you recall, this thing is gonna snap back. Okay, slowly. Okay, so that all sits there. Okay, now what we had this piece. So I'm gonna take this, put the gear in. Okay, and of course we need to remember how this thing was, so we need to turn it, and it doesn't turn because we need to pull back a little bit. And I think it was like that. Okay. So this, you see, lines up the bolts, and this connection lines up with that when it sits. So that's how it works. There's 1, 2, and we're gonna use okay, so that's assembled. This is done. Now we need to install this solenoid that goes on top. And so to assemble it, we need to put the spring in, and this piece needs to be engaged in this arm. So let's put a little bit of grease in there. I'm going to take this arm and basically just slide it on top and push it down so it sits there. And now this has to go in. And the small part has to be something like that. Okay, now need to flip it. So before you install, make sure that this gear is all the way down. See, this gear is all the way down. Hold it, and now I can drop the screw and just time it. Okay, so that's all tight. Now what we have left is put this connection back and put this nut back. And it's a 13 mil. So now I need to tighten this nut and tighten these two screws. And here you go, folks. That's a rebuild starter for you. Okay, now in regards to the replacement part, I'm gonna put a shortcut in the video.